build transparency and trust, there are now new angles of that are representing concerns about transparency and lack of trust. And so hence the questioning about data ability, storage ability, technological innovations, minor tweaks, 30 seconds to 90 seconds, whatever we can do. Got to the policy issue, and Chief, thank you very much for sharing this policy and a number of other policies that you've worked to develop for this. I know that there have been some substantial changes to this particular policy, and I can't remember what all they are, but I know that there were a few. I do think it's worthwhile for this committee to look at it. The chief's here to keep us safe. She and her team of officers are here to keep us safe. Our job, we're policymakers. That's what we do. We're decision makers, and to the extent that this is cutting edge stuff, that it's first in the nation kind of stuff, I think it's the responsibility of this committee to look at this, and not just for body-worn cameras, but for other technological innovations. I would personally prefer that some of these discussions be had before we acquire some of this technology. I think Kellen got to this a little bit in anticipation, perhaps, of some of these concerns. But I think that it's a part of what the public pays us to do. This is why we have jobs, is to look at some of this, not to tell the chief how to do her job. This is in consultation with the police department, with the POA and others, but also with the community, to make sure that maybe we would have had a discussion about whether or not 30 seconds was enough. Maybe it's something more. Maybe then the chief says it's not technologically possible. But I think this would be a hallmark or reflection of a healthy discussion of a robust legislative branch that we probably should do. And I think in response to Ms. Cole's comments, Ms. Emerald, you indicated a willingness to do that. I think that would be a wise thing. You covered the budget issues that are involved in this, mostly COPS grants, stuff that's already been budgeted. Any additional costs associated with some of the things that you're looking at with the innovation, with the kind of go live as soon as you pick something up? Would that be more costly?
I would imagine there'll be some cost to it. We don't know what that might be until we speak with them. But again, I offered to be the first department to take a look at this technology, and we'll take it from there.
The last thing would just be curious. I know that, Chief, you talked about the reduction perhaps in
complaints, use
complaints.
of force.
Yes, thank you. Yes, sir. But also an increase in assaults. I think is something you said in the past.
Yeah, 36% increase in assaults on our police officers, although complaints and allegations were reduced substantially.
I think one of the reasons we made this investment was this was in reaction to some of the liability that we've taken on through some officer misconduct, a few bad apples amongst a lot of really, really good public servants. Do we have any data on how we're doing from a liability standpoint? Are claims less? Have we paid out less money in terms of settlements since these cameras have been operational?
I don't have the dollar amount. That would be something I think the city attorney would need to look at. But I will tell you, not a week goes by now where we don't get one or two complaints that come in, and we look at the body-worn camera video, and we show it to the complainant. Often has an opportunity, the complainant, to view the video, and usually they come back and say, I can't believe how intoxicated I was, and how do I apologize to the officer, because clearly what I said happened didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to see, I don't know if the city attorney's office can provide us with that. I think all of us have had to vote in times past to authorize payment to folks, not just for the police department. There's plenty of, with 10,000 employees, they interact with the public every day. Sometimes bad stuff happens. But I think our investment in this was the belief that whatever we paid for in this was, number one, maybe covered by the lack of liability claims, but also would buy the public trust that we're trying to keep and maintain. And that's, of course, priceless. That whatever dollar amount it is, is minor in comparison. But I'd be interested in that data as we go forward. And again, interested in a conversation about the policies that dictate this stuff. The public testimony today, I think, says that they're expecting us to do that work.
All right, very good. And yes, maybe in January, we could come back and have a discussion about policy, but we'll work with the consultant and see what we can pull together. Ms. Cole has another question.
A real quick question, Chief. Have we ever had vehicle cameras?
We have not. We have not. I think several years ago, I should probably say many years ago, there were a few that may have piloted vehicle, but we do not have it. We do not have in-car cameras. No.
The reason why is, I watch cop shows a lot, and I don't know why. I know why, but and also I do, and I watch also caught on camera, and there's a lot of police vehicles with cameras on them, and it does show a lot. I'm just wondering if there's, maybe in the future we could also have
Well,
vehicles.
I would tell you, at this point, our officers spend a lot of time out of their vehicles, and having in-car camera only shows, again, what's happening right in front of the vehicle. Our officers get out of the, if they're not right in front of the vehicle, then you're not necessarily going to see what happens, and the camera is on
I'm
the
just saying
officer.
both, right? But that while you're driving, that is footage. Once you get out of the car and turn your, body cameras on, that's another part of the footage. So just wondering about that. But that's not that's not something that we were ever
That's something that I'm looking at this
in the
time.
near future.
I'm a huge proponent of body-worn camera, and we'd like to get all of our patrol officers outfitted with them first.
And I am too. Okay, thank you, Chief.
Okay,
I'm
thank
gonna
you.
stop watching car on camera.
It's my understanding that you are doing community outreach though, and are you meeting with any community groups at all?
We, this body-worn camera topic comes up, I would tell you, in virtually every, seems like, conversation that we have. If it's not brought up to us, we bring it up. And one of the things that we do, not just for myself, but our other officers, is we just get out our cars and we start to go talk with individuals. And we broach this conversation because these are everyday individuals that they just want to be safe in their neighborhood. And we have these conversations with them about what do they think. Because often, they're not going to come down to a city council meeting. They're not going to necessarily talk to the media or talk to, whoever. They're just want to go out and just, be safe in their neighborhood. So we had these conversations with them about what do you think about privacy? What do you think about our policy? And we get a lot of feedback. And I'll tell you, overwhelmingly, our policy is very supported by our community.
Yeah, that's the same I've heard too. I don't know what the explanation is for people jumping your police officers or assaulting them at this high a rate, unless they just don't like seeing a camera on them. I don't know. But that's of concern, whether your officers are safe out there. And I think this has been a good conversation today. Believe that we do need to continue to invest in these body-worn cameras and make sure that all of our officers in Academy are learning to use those cameras from jump, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And that's what's happening, I understand.
Yes. To
So-
start to develop that muscle memory just like they would any other piece of equipment. It's sometimes more difficult for somebody who is a veteran officer and has not had the this technology and that muscle memory early in their career.
All right. Thank you so much for all of this. Is there anything else any of you would like to add, or any members of the committee would like to add? With that, we have a motion by Mr. Cate. I seconded that.